Shalom Aleichem and welcome to Machem Leira Online Smicha. I would like to discuss a shaila I was asked and show you from the sources what the background to this discussion is. And the question was, there was a shul and there's somebody that comes to the shul, let's say a guard or a cleaning crew, that came to the shul early morning and it was a cold day. So he put up the water to boil. So he should be able to have himself a cup of coffee. And he didn't just put up, when you put up a chainik, you don't just put up 1 cup worth of water, you fill it up a little more. And his intention was to have make himself a cup of coffee. And then if he's there long enough, he'll have another cup of coffee. And the question is, being that it's Shabbos and the guy boiled water on Shabbos, is any other person who came to shul that day allowed to use that hot water? So, first of all, I got to split this into 2. Baruch Hashem, we're not dealing with a guy that cooked something, food, because cooking food would be more than one problem. Wouldn't only be the problem of cooking, would also be the problem that he might have done bishul akum. And for bishul akum, like it or not, you can't eat it. If you're makpid on bishul akum, you can't eat it. The question is, being that it's water, and water is something that's nechal k'moshu chai, something that you could eat without boiling, so there isn't any issue of bishul akum if a guy boiled it, but the fact is he did it on Shabbos. Could you drink that? Could a yid come to shul and see hot water and boil and make himself a cup of coffee? So I want to give you a little background before we get to the actual as it's written in Shulchan Aruch. The Mishnah Masechah Shabbos Daf Kuf Chaf Aleph Amud Aleph says a statement like this: Nachri shehidlik is in there. If a guy went and lit a candle, mishtamish li'oyer Yisrael. If he lit a candle, he put on the electric, he put on the light. A yid is allowed to read in that room. However, in b'shvil Yisrael, if he did it for the Jew, then you're not allowed to, because it's just like you're not allowed to instruct, and we'll soon see what the reasoning behind it. Just like you're not allowed, Amir l'nachri, to do a malacha is not allowed. So if he did it for you, we'll soon see we're almost concerned next time you'll tell him to do it. Another example, the Mishnah says, Miling mayim lahashkis behemte, if a guy went to the well and drew water to give his animals to drink, so if there's any water left in the tub out of the well, which the guy drew on Shabbos, mashka achrav Yisrael, the yid is allowed to give his animals to drink. The im b'shvil Yisrael, if however he did this all for the Jew, again, usher, that's not allowed. So we see clearly that obviously this is not the din of Amir l'nachri, because Amir l'nachri is where you ask him to do, you instruct him to do it. This is a situation where he did it on his own. So if he did it on his own, l'tzarech Yisrael, if he did it for you, with you in mind, you're not allowed to. If he did it for himself, you are allowed to. Now, why, if he did it for you, when no one asked him, why you're not allowed to? The bottom line is, I didn't ask him to do it, so it's not a question of doing malacha for me. So there is a machlokes here between Rashi and Tosfos. Rashi says it's a isur midrabanan. Rashi is a Masechta Beya, Daf Chav Daled Amud Beis Divra Maschil Ula Erev. Rashi says that we don't want a yid to have a na for a malacha that was done on Shabbos, and if it was done for me, it was a prohibited a malacha. So a malacha which is prohibited on Shabbos, I don't want you to have any anar from. Tosfos says another reason. Tosfos says because the isser of the concept of telling a guy to do something for you in Shabbos, people don't realize that it's a problem. It's a isser kal. It's something that people are very cheap, are very easy on, because after all, you think that the guy is doing it. It's not me that's doing it. So even though in this particular case the guy did it on his own, we are afraid if we're going to allow you to benefit from what a guy did for you, next time you will tell him to do it. So therefore, the Chachamim made a gzeira. Any time a guy makes a malacha for you on Shabbos, if he had you in mind, you're not allowed to benefit from that. In Shulchan Aruch and Siman Reish Ayin Vav, it's brought that a guy lights a candle if it's Bishvil Yisrael, usher. And it's not only usher for the person who he lit it for, it's any Jew is not allowed to benefit from it. But however, in another case, and if it wasn't a candle, if it was a guy bringing something chutz l'tchum, over there he paskins different, and the Achronim discuss what's the difference between the malach of chutz l'tchum and the malach of lighting a candle. Isur deraisa, isur derabbanan. There's a lot to talk about that. Now let's go back. So when a guy does it for you, which it happens a lot of times, you have people working in the shul, and they think it's part of their job. Even though you never told them, they come in the morning, they put up a thing of water. If he has fully intention to do it for you, you're not allowed to drink from that because he had you in mind. We'll soon see. Even if he had himself in mind also, there is sometimes a problem that because he knows you, he's shema yarber b'shvila. Maybe he's going to make himself some water for his coffee, but he knows you and he likes you, so he's going to add some more water so you should have a cup of coffee. That's also a concern. Now, let's go. There's a Tosfos. The Tosfos asks a question. Tosfos says, really, if the guy did it for himself, the Yid has a lot of benefit from this? We find the Gemara Masechta Be'ed, Daf Gimel Lamed Aleph says, an interesting case. What happens if the fruit that fell off the tree on its own on Shabbos? Yeah, are you allowed to eat those fruit? Or any fruit or anything that got squeezed on Shabbos and its juice was made on Shabbos by itself, could you drink it? So Tosfos quotes that the Gemara says you can't. Why? Because even though it was done by itself, we are afraid. Shema yala v'yitleish ba'atzmai. If you allow me to benefit from that fruit that fell on Shabbos, next time I might go rip it off on Shabbos. There's nothing to stop me. So the question is, why when the guy does something for himself, I'm allowed to benefit from it? And over here, things are not even done by a guy. It's happening just Hashem made it happen. There are two examples where you're not allowed to benefit from it. And Tosfos says a very yesodistic point that the difference is talisha, to take a fruit off, or schita, to squeeze a fruit. Those are easy things. It happens very, very quick. And a person, if he's hungry and he wants to eat, he'll do a chick-chack, he'll get it done. So Tosfos says 2 points. A, these are easy things to get done, and it's for the sake of eating. Therefore, over there, we're machmer, you say, don't use those things on Shabbos, because the next time a person will just do it himself. But any other malacha that's effort, and there's an effort involved, there's no reason to be machmer. Now the Achronim go on to discuss is this 2 points, that it has to be something that takes effort and it's food item, or even just one of the points is good enough, and the Chachamim won't be machmer. And this is a machlekes Achronim. Okay, so now we see the background that a guy doing something for a yid in mind, it's for sure not allowed. Even if I didn't instruct him, a guy doing it on his own, if it's a food item and it takes effort to get done, then there is reason to believe to stay away from it. Because if I let it happen, next time I'm going to do it on my own. If, however, it's something that's effortless, or possibly not a food item, then you can let it go. This is a summary of the Rishonim and the Gemara. Now I'm going to quote 2 halachas in Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. One of it is in Shin Chaf Hey, Seif Tes. The Alter Rebbe says, Imliket, if a guy collected, or tzod, or did hunting, or afa, or baked, Simen Shin Chaf Hey, Seif Tes, ubishel, or cooked, Aisha asa achas mishar malachish b'shvil Yisrael, if he did it for a yid, or if he did it for yidden and goyim, then you can't eat it. Not only you can't eat it on Shabbos, you can't benefit from it, and you have to wait till after Shabbos b'chtei sheyasu. And not even the person who he made it for, as mentioned, even others can't benefit. Shekol shanasis malachas isser shel Torah b'shvil Yisrael. The Alter Rebbe says anything a Torah prohibition was done for a Jew, the Chachamim were machmer and say nobody could benefit. If it's a Isser D'Rabbanan, maybe you could be a little more easier and maybe you could get it faster. Okay? That's the first halacha. Then the Alter Rebbe goes on to say, in Seif Yud Zayin, if a guy collected straw, a hay, for his animal, a Yid is allowed to feed his animal with the leftovers. Says the Alter Rebbe, V'hu shein anachi v'makirei. This is only if the guy doesn't know the Jew, is not friendly with the Jew. But in makirei, then asaloi afilu lamed b'fanav, you're not allowed to stand there because we're afraid the guy, knowing that you also have animals and he knows you as a friend, he might collect extra. And then the Alter Rebbe says a Siv Yud Ches, or any other item that you could be afraid Shema Yarba B'Shvilai. For example, a guy roasts food, cooks food, obviously things that Bishul Akum is not an issue. If or anything kol kayotze b'davar zeh shetzarich laharbis boy b'shvil shnayim yosem b'shvil echad, anything that you have to add more for in the second person. And the Alter Rebbe is making reference because earlier in Shin Yud Ches he spoke about shchita. Sometimes you shecht, and when you shecht, you can't just shecht a quarter of an animal. He has to shecht the whole animal. So once he shechts it, it's good for everybody. But over here, when you're cooking for one person, you're cooking one serving. We're cooking for more than one person, it's more than a serving. Then you have a chash shema yarbe b'shvilai. But if it's something that's not no chash yarbe b'shvilai, for example, he opens up the light because the guy wants to read something. So the fact that the room is lit for the guy, he did it for himself. There is no yarbe b'shvilai. There's no extra electric for you. Or he built himself a ramp, so he did it for himself. He needs a whole ramp. So then, anything like that, you have no problem of maybe Marba B'Shvilai. So now, back to what's the summary of the original question? A guy boils water on Shabbos. He did it strictly for himself. He's strictly for himself, so a Yid should be able to benefit from it because he didn't do it on behalf of any Jew. But if you're seeing, and even if he made a couple of cups, so it could be that he did it for the rest of the day. He's going to be there a couple of hours. He wants to have a couple of cups of tea, a couple of cups of coffee. But if he's makir the Jew, then there's an additional chash that Shema Yarbe B'Shvilai. So this is a complicated issue. Obviously, it's a mitzvah. There's wiggle room. But the gist is, be'etzem, something that he does, that there is no chash Shema Yarbe B'Shvilai, if he doesn't do it by your instruction, or on your behalf, or for you, then it's allowed. Anything which he's doing for you in any way, shape, or form, it's not allowed.